In this video, we're going to talk about request records in Cobblestone Contract Insight. Request records are a standard out-of-the-box table that allows end users to submit requests for new contracts, solicitations, purchase orders, etc. It's housed under the main menu. You can go to Requests, and you'll see a whole section for request records. Now, generally, the way requests work is they'll be submitted by end users. Usually, these are like lower tiered users who are more like day-to-day users of the system. And as opposed to having to send an email to request a new vendor or to request a new contract or something else, they're going to input a request record. Now, the request input screen is, of course, configurable. You are able to change the fields, the request types, so on and so forth. Then, once that request is submitted, a review group, you'll have at least one group. They are able to review and then accept or reject that request. And you must have at least one group, but you certainly can have more reviews and approvals for a request record. Once a request is fully approved, it can then be converted to a more formal record type, such as a contract or a counterparty record. Requests do have different permissions than other areas of the system, so an end user might be able to add and edit a request, but not be able to add or edit contract. So these might have looser permissions than, say, a contract would. And so when a request is submitted, it must be reviewed and approved. It's a little more informal before it becomes something a bit more formal down the line. So we're going to walk through an example of what a request record looks like. They are very similar to contracts, as we've covered in Unit 1. So you'll see that here, the configuration of requests is managed almost exactly like contracts, as covered in Unit 1 as well. So let's go add a request record. I will choose my request type from the drop-down list. This is not the list of out-of-the-box request offerings. The out-of-the-box list is much longer than this and almost identical to the out-of-the-box contract types. For this example, I'm going to choose a consulting agreement and then click Continue. While I'm doing that, let me also just acknowledge that you can configure the different types of requests by going to Manage Setup, Master Reference Data, and then down to Record Types. Again, that's the same place that we manage our contract types. And from here, as always, we're going to complete our required fields, any additional fields as we need to, and then click Save and Continue at the bottom. There's really only one field here that is entirely unique to this area, which is the reviewer and review group field. So if you select this field, you're going to be choosing a group that is going to be responsible for ultimately reviewing and then accepting and converting this request to another record type. Many of the other fields here are, optional and can be configured further, of course. Many of them are out of the box, kind of one-to-one with your out-of-the-box contract fields, but by all means, you can configure this further. This is a separate table of the system, so when you are in the field manager, as opposed to choosing contract details, which is the primary table for contract field management, you will want to select contract requests, which is the primary table for request records. So all of your request fields are handled right from here, contract requests. And then, of course, you can assign fields to different types of requests by going to Manage Fields by Type. You could also get here from the main menu. And instead of leaving this on contracts, you'll switch this to requests and then choose the request type you want to manage. Okay, so just as we covered in field management in Unit 1, but now just focusing on requests instead of contracts. Now back to our other tab. I'm going to fast forward here and just fill out this information and then click Save and Continue at the bottom to add the request to the system. So here you can see our request is submitted. And the overall layout of this page is just like contracts, more or less. The tabs here and certain aspects of the side menu may be configured under Manage Setup, Application Configuration, and then Record Details tab setup. That's covered later on in Unit 4. From here, of course, you may edit fields if you have the proper permissions. I want to move over to tasks and emails here because we can have workflow processes. So I can initiate like a prepare for review and then send it to legal and finance and whomever else. Under attachments and templates, just as always, we can upload files and attachments here. So I'll just drag and drop 2 documents here into the drop files here box. And of course, we can use document templates to draft the contract or the agreement directly from here. So we haven't gotten here quite yet in training, but in Unit 3, we're going to discuss document templates, which is our document authoring tool. And you can use that tool on your contract records, but you could also use it on requests. And I want to acknowledge from here that when there is a new request submitted, the members of the review group and any assignees from a workflow task will receive an email. And I like to also recommend setting up the dashboard to remind people when they have pending tasks or pending requests to review. I highly suggest doing that so you can keep track of which requests are in the pipeline. Now, when the request is fully approved by the review group or through workflow, sysadmins or members of the review group are able to go to the left-hand side and change the status of the request to accepted, hopefully. But while we're here, and before we click that button, I want to quickly discuss these other three options here under the contract request status dropdown. First is pending, and of course, whenever you submit a request, it is going to default to pending. You may reject the request. The review group has the liberty to reject requests. Hopefully that doesn't happen very often, but they are able to, of course. It's the counter to accepted. And then we have canceled. The person that input the request is able to cancel their own request if they change their mind or something else has changed. They could cancel it as needed. In this case, let's go ahead and click request accepted and then click update status. Great. Now from here, let's go to view all actions on the side and click create new record. You'll see a variety of options in this list. You can create a new request from the request, you can copy it, or you can create a new contract, new company, or a variety of other records. In this example today, let's go ahead and add a contract record. Now I'm on a contract add screen, and by doing so, we triggered a process called field mapping, where field data from the request record can map over to fields on the contract record. So you'll see that my contract title is filled in, and a few of my other fields below, like my contract amount, budget amount, effective date, expiration date. We can certainly have other fields map over if we'd like to. This is very convenient because you don't have to reinvent the wheel here or input all of the information again. We can simply have the information transfer or map from the request record to the contract record. So this can definitely save us time. We are able to come in and change this though if we want to. All right, on the request, the budget amount was 700,000. Okay, maybe now it's 650. We could certainly make those updates as we're adding this contract to the system. And by the way, you might have more or less fields on the contract add screen than the request add screen. I certainly see that sometimes in organization systems. So you might have more fields you track here, or maybe there's less. It's really up to you. But just so you know, these fields are distinct. They're often similar, so we can map the information, but you could see different fields here when you're actually adding the new record. So I'm going to fill out the rest of the fields here, and then I'm going to click Save and Continue at the bottom and show you the contract. But again, we're going to fast forward through this section, so you don't have to see me fill out the fields. So we just added the contract to the system that came from the request. And I just want to show you from this page, we can go over to the linked records tab. We will see a subtable that shows the request that this contract originated from. So if I scroll down just a little bit, we're going to see linked and associated requests. And there's the original request we came from. And I can click view and it opens up that request. And then from the request, I'll have a similar subtable under linked records that lets me jump forward to the contract. Okay, so that's how we add a request, convert it to a contract, and use the linked to jump to and fro. The last piece of this video is to discuss request searching. First, I want to acknowledge that you can set up the quick search to allow you to search for requests. Let me cover that ever so quickly. We can go down to Manage Setup, Application Configuration, and then down to Quick Search Configuration. And then all you have to do here is go to Requests on the left-hand side, and then switch, including Quick Search, to Yes, and then your Quick Search will now be able to search request records. By default, it only searches by contract records. Next, let's go to the main menu, down to Requests, and then Review Requests. From this page, we will by default see all of the pending requests, and I can filter and sort, and of course, sort of search through this list to see any of the pending requests that are active in my system that I can look through. And I can also toggle this drop-down list to see any of the requests that have been accepted, rejected, or canceled. And then finally, we have Find Search Requests. This is simply a search screen similar to Find Search Contracts as covered in Unit 1. It shows all of the requests in the system regardless of status and any other fields. So I can certainly filter and sort through the list. If I want to look by a specific field on request records, I can do that, and I can start searching by that contract amount or whatever that field is. You could use the advanced search to add extra filters and conditions. And on the right-hand side, we have View My Recently Updated Records, and I can search by this if I prefer. So if I was just in the system yesterday, managing a request, I might find it useful to go see my recently updated ones. And those are a few methods to search for request records in Cobblestone Contract Insight. In the next videos, we're going to talk about field mapping and roles and groups, which are both other configuration areas relevant to request records. Thank you.